Happy Thursday morning. Keith Tebow from FRCMedia. Thank you for joining us today, and I'm pleased to be joined, as we are each Thursday at this time, by the mayor of the city of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan. Mayor, how are you today?
Doing well, Keith. How about you guys?
We're doing okay, hanging in there. We tend to say that every week, and I guess that's always a good thing that we're doing well and sort of hanging in there.
Well,
I want to start
I
again.
noticed you transitioned to the vest, so that's going to be an
Yeah, well,
indicator that it's
it's funny.
seasonal.
I'm in the lower floor of my house, and we try to keep the heat a little lower here, so it's a little chilly
All right,
this morning. So that's
hang
just the
in
way it
there.
is.
Hang in there.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see thicker sweaters as we go along through the winter. All right.
January.
Starting with COVID again, yesterday the city saw its highest number yet on a daily basis, 150 plus cases. Is it just a matter of a bigger spike, or I know the day before the numbers were a little lower? What can you say
Yeah,
about the
I
recent
look at
increase?
we're on like an average of 80 to 100 a day hopefully for a little while here. So when it was 41 the day before, Elena and I were talking about it. I said I got a feeling tomorrow we're going to get a little bit of a jump, and I think that's what happened. There's just some lag time in the reporting, which doubled it up. It isn't good at an average rate. So I mean, it's not like we're gaining anything. It's just that it did jump up a little bit more yesterday, but prior to that, it had gone down a little bit. So we'll stay with the average.
Yeah. Some of the communities near Fall River, mainly in Rhode Island, Central Falls comes to mind. Their mayor there has actually stepped back in terms of, reinstituting restrictions on restaurants. They're actually shutting down indoor restaurants. I know I asked you this last week, but I don't know if anything has changed. Is there any indication in your mind where you may need to make a unilateral move to put the city on more of a restrictive scope? Fall River is one of the higher, levels now of infection across the Commonwealth. Have you any thoughts on that?
Well, we're going to make a decision that's based on the data in front of us. We haven't seen restaurants that we can attribute spikes to or cases, significant number of cases. And again, I remember when there was a lot more PPE money around and we closed down the restaurants, they had a fallback position. Some of these people now that pay a mortgage or insurance or anything, they have no idea where the money's going to come from if we shut them all down. I do. I did see obviously today Attleboro City Hall closed. They had 10 positive cases and 9 presumptive. Now, that's a different animal altogether because you have an identified cluster in a building, and the prudent thing to do is shut it down for a few weeks and clean it up. If that's the case in any restaurant or in any building, then I think that we would definitely take a step back for those people in that building.
Yeah. Another thing, yesterday, the governor was talking about how some school districts, I believe over 130, are going to be getting some of these rapid tests that they can perform if there's a student or even a staff member within a school that may show some symptoms of COVID. Do you know of any Fall River schools? Are we going to be taking part of that at all?
I have a meeting tomorrow with a couple of people. Hopefully we'll get some clarity today from the DESE to look into it. The initial test I saw that was being used, like for example in Wellesley, was a saliva test where the kids would be taking a test tube home with them with marking numbers on it. And I think in Fall River that would be very difficult. Whereas if there's a bunch of kids in a line, socially distanced, getting a nose swab, I think that might be more practical. I'm not exactly sure what that test is. The one article I did read referred to saliva, but I would be more comfortable if it was nose swabs, and we'll see what the benefits are and what the costs are.
All right, moving on. This week, the City Council approved the real estate tax rate for the coming year, and it's sort of a good news, bad news for local homeowners. As a homeowner, we always want to see the value of our home rise, but sometimes that comes with increase in taxes, and homeowners are going to see, on average, a little bit of an increase in their taxes because of the valuation. So I guess it is a good news, bad news in that sense, right?
Well, we factored in at the lowest possible rate we could for residential. The property values, as you said, like we look at what's going on in Fall River. We've never had $350,000, $400,000 housing developments being done in the city. And now we do with Highland Woods and the one also behind Royal Crest. Those houses are valued at a significant number. I mean, I know a friend of mine, he's doing a development on County Street, and the houses on County are going for $300,000. So there is a rise in the value of property in Fall River, and especially in our three families. I mean, we're routinely now hearing three families going for sale for upwards of $400,000. I mean, that's a natural. I mean, that's a hell of an increase in prices, which then triggers the taxes. So, we're trying to balance it out, which is why we went to the highest possible factor we could to benefit residents. And it works in the converse for businesses a little bit because they're not doing as well as the residential homeowners and their property values right now.
Yeah. And finally, this week we'll keep it nice and brief. You're planning a few months late. COVID got in the way. You're planning what you're calling an informal State of the City address on Monday. What can we expect to hear?
Well, you can expect to hear a number of things we're doing in the city that I think are positive, and a little bit of a description about where we've come from with COVID and where we're going. Fall River again was waiting for my State of the City address in March when we shut down, and that never happened. So we wanted to do something. I mean, I'll be giving another one in a few months in March, which probably, hopefully, will be in a different setting. Right now, with our limits on crowds and everything, we just did one up in my office, recorded it. It would have been the exact same speech other than the modifications for things that have gone on since March. But it's trying to keep the citizens informed about where we stand as a city and let them know that a lot of things are going on other than COVID, although it does seem like it overwhelms us sometimes.
Yeah, and how difficult has that been? I think we talked about this back during the summer sometime. How difficult has it been for you to have sort of a normal administration? I guess you haven't really experienced that. So how difficult has it for you maybe to put some other things on hold that you've wanted to achieve in this first year?
You were there during the campaign, Keith. I never heard you say to me, Paul, how are you going to handle a pandemic? We talked about roads. We talked about economic development. We talked about schools. We talked about people. We talked about policies, but we never got into this. And have this thrust on us, 8 weeks into an administration is very, very testing. But I believe that you're only tested by what you can't not handle. And I think we've done a good job in the city of Fall River. We've handled this to the best of our ability. We stay on top of it. Yesterday, we were delivering turkeys up to the veterans at Corky Row, and we, in the past, have delivered PPE to all of our nursing homes, whether it's local manufacturers making hand sanitizer or masks, and it just changed the job. It's work, and at the time, it transitioned to pandemic maintenance, and that's what we've been doing ever since. We still as soon as I get off this, I'm going to be on a call with hopefully the lieutenant governor to talk about testing. It does overwhelm some of the day, but it's just part of your workload. You want to make sure people are safe, and you want to make sure you're doing the best you can for the city.
All right, Mayor, as always, I want to thank you. Just one word of note. I won't be bothering you next Thursday at your Thanksgiving Day dinner table. We're taking a week off. I do appreciate you joining us every Thursday. Have a great holiday. We'll talk again in a couple of weeks.
You too, Keith. Thank you. Happy
All right.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us today in FRC Media.